Hi, this is Keeper, and welcome back to On Air. Glad you could join me. Today, we have a very special guest in the house, the type of guest that everyone in direct selling should sit down and watch and listen to. It's an extraordinary individual who is looking to get into direct selling, has never been in direct selling, but wants to get into direct selling. Having watched Direct Selling Live's special month-long celebration of Black History Month, where I interviewed Shakira Ali, Ebony Williams, Rhonda Johnson, and CEO of Soul Purpose Nadine Thompson, where this gentleman heard me talk about the need for black ownership in direct selling. Now, that's not all that untypical for me to have that type of conversation, to make that statement. However, in this individual's case, it is absolutely extraordinary. Here we are talking about a person who's 83 years old, who's looking to start his own direct selling company. He's black, and having had a lifetime of challenges, he continues to believe in his dream. He continues to believe in hope that there's a better life for him, his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, and his great-great-grandchildren. Mr. William Sullivan is here today as my special guest here on OnAIR.
I want to share with you a simple recipe for success. One where I doubted myself, where I really could not understand that anybody could succeed in this industry. Anybody here relate to that? Well, let me tell you, you can do it. If you lead with your heart, with the feeling that you are there truly to help that person, not yourself, it's all about inspiring others to be the best that they can be. You can do this. Are you with me? I know you are. I'm proud of every one of you. You will move mountains. You will move cultures. You will affect people around the globe. You can do it.
Welcome back to On Air. As we mentioned, we have an absolute special guest today. And for me here on Air, as long as I've been doing this, which is well over 150 shows now, I have never, as I mentioned in the opening, had a guest as special as Mr. William Sullivan. You heard me mention that he's a great-grandfather, and after seeing a show, an on-air show, came to the conclusion, the realization that he would like to somehow create a direct selling company or partner with an existing direct selling company. His vision for his life, for the life of his children, and his service to his community in the way that he wishes to do so is one I've never heard before. And I hope all of you really take the time to listen to what he has to say. The interesting part of this show, and it's one of the things that kind of connected us in the beginning, is Mrs. Sullivan is a stutterer, just like I am. There's not a show that I can't do that I am going to slip up like I'm doing now because of stuttering issues. So we're like a kindred spirit here, and we understand what each other is going through. With that said, we both realize that there is nothing that can stop you if you put your mind to it. Mr. Sullivan, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Keeper.
You know,
I'm doing good, thank you.
You know, I've never had a guest quite like you, and if you can kind of share with people how you connected with me.
Okay. I was watching the Black History program on your station back in February, and you were sponsoring people, blacks who were in direct selling.
Yeah.
So I remember Nadine Thompson.
Yep.
And I also recall Ebony Williams. And I had watched those too. And something that you said, it struck me. You said that you would like to see more blacks as owners rather than distributors.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I said, well, I could be someone like that because I have something that is unique, that is mine. I got the copyright for it, etc. So I said, well, let me contact you and see what you thought about it. So I did that. I sent you a box of something.
Oh, yes, you sent me a box of something. You sent me a box of something with a bunch of stuff in it, a bunch of absolutely beautiful artwork. And as we go through this show, we're going to get in depth into that artwork. But yes, you sent me a box of something. You know, one of the most fascinating parts of the story, and I've had numerous conversations with you over the past weeks, and it has been an absolute honor. And you know, I'm in awe. I really am. I'm in awe of you in a number of ways. First and foremost, knowing that you and I have the same issue with stuttering, which is just as powerful as anything else that we're going to talk about here. Because for people to see guys like you and I willing to put ourselves out there, regardless of what we're having to deal with, and you know as well as I do, speaking is so critical to our communication. And I used to worry about what people would think of me when I stutter. And I used to be concerned that people would judge me, my intelligence, my ability, my willingness, my capability to not only dream of something, to pull it off based on my stuttering. Here you are, and it's funny, from time to time when you and I have been on the phone, it's just like, okay, who can stutter the best here? It's just kind of a challenge, but it's really funny because you and I, we will stop and we will chuckle about it because we know what it's like to be in the public, and for you to be in the public like this, to come out of yourself, come out of your comfort zone, so to speak. It's incredibly powerful, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for you taking the time to do this and put yourself out there.
Well, you're welcome, Keeper. And I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to be on your program also.
You are quite welcome. We're going to talk about the artwork and the additional memorabilia, things like this that you have. But before we do that, let's just talk about William Sullivan, the man, first, because I think it's always critical that people understand the whys and wherefores and where all this came from. Now, you were born in Columbus, Ohio, one of 4 boys to Frank and Lucille Sullivan, but you are now a great-grandfather. You're what, 83, 84? Which one is it? You're 83.
You're 83. I'll be 84 this coming August.
Well, happy birthday. Let's talk about your childhood for a second. With your parents, born in Columbus, Ohio, to Frank and Lucille Sullivan. What was your childhood like?
Okay, I was the baby of 4 boys. I was the youngest. And my childhood, we all were born about 2 years apart. And so my childhood, my parents taught us how to work. So I would set pins in bowling alleys, and I would also have paper routes and that sort of thing. And as a boy, I was sort of mischievous because my brothers, they taught me how to gamble.
Oh, they did, huh?
Yes. And so I learned, actually, I was addicted to gambling when I was about 12 or 13 or 14 years old. And that followed me all the way through my adult life until I got converted.
Now, have you ever taken the time, and I don't know if your brothers are still alive, but did you ever take the opportunity to thank them for for introducing you to gambling, which became a big issue for you? If I remember correctly, it impacted your marriage, it impacted your children, which is bound to happen. You ever take the time to tell your brothers thank you?
Actually, they have all deceased at this time. I'm the only one left.
Okay.
But I didn't think to thank him because I always thought that was a negative thing.
Well, yes, that's my point. You know, they introduced the baby boy and set him on this path.
Right.
As you're growing up and you're into this gambling thing that has really impacted your life in a negative way, how were you able to overcome it?
Oh, okay. I will throw this in while we're talking about this. I got my girlfriend pregnant at 17 years old, and she was 16, and so with my parents' consent and her parents, we got married, and so I got a job, and my mother let me stay with them, and so we stayed with them, and every weekend, I am sitting at some pool hall or some joint gambling instead of being home with my young wife and my potential child. Now, my first child, which was born, her parents wanted to raise them because this was their first grandchild.
Yeah.
And so I consented, but then she got pregnant right away again. And I panicked, and we got this abortion, and I remember how guilty we felt the night that she had to catch that baby in a pan and flush it down the toilet. And I thought to myself, what have we done?
So you, don't want to cause any undue stress for you here. But I appreciate your honesty and candidness. So you aborted the baby, and as you said, the way in which it was done, you caught it in a pan, and as a young man, how do you overcome that? Because you're obviously grief-stricken right now. You're questioning what you just did, you and your young wife. How do you overcome that?
I learned about God's forgiveness. As far as the east is from the west, so far as He removed our sins from us, and He has cast them into the depths of the sea. When I learned that, I understood that even though you can be regretful and sorry for things that you have done, that the Lord can wipe it away, and but as if that never happened. I am not guilt-stricken, right now.
Yeah.
And so that, yeah.
But I imagine not being guilt-stricken is good, but the memory and still holding on to the responsibility, which is what I think you do, and through that, you're willing to share the story, and hopefully in sharing the story, it helps other people, which I think is absolutely wonderful. You have overcome and continue to deal with challenges every day. You as a young man, you're in gambling halls, you're in pool halls. At what point do you remember, how far back do you remember the stuttering starting? Was that something that you always had? Because me, I don't remember. I just know that things happened in my life, and my grandmother says to me, my grandmother, she's still alive, there are things that happened in your life that I'm glad you don't remember. Because I don't remember very early in my life up until around age, I guess, 5 or 6 or 7. And she said, it's a good thing you don't remember. You started stuttering, this is what she told me, you started stuttering around that time. Now, you and I know that there's not always a point that causes it. For some of us, we're just wired that way. What was it for you?
I can remember that my brothers used to tease me about stuttering.
Mm-hmm.
I was 4 years old, around 4 years old. And
Yeah.
I remember that my parents used to think that when they would go on a vacation or something like that, or not be around, that my brothers would tickle me and that sort of thing. And I think that's where they thought that stuttering started from. But I don't remember them tickling me like that.
Yeah.
And I was just born with stuttering, and I have found out since then from the scriptures that Moses was born with stuttering, because God says, who made man's mouth? So I understood right then that there are hundreds and thousands and even millions of people around the world, men and women,
Yeah.
boys and girls, who stutter.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to be ashamed of, because
Right.
that's how we were born.
Well, you have displayed a enormous amount of courage. If I can just share something here before we go to break. My family, we've been in entertainment for years. We were singers for years, and in fact, in LA, we were very popular. We traveled the world. We did all sorts of things. Warner Brothers Records, United Artists, all this sort of stuff. But when we first started, we were working in an after-hours club, one that opened up at 1 and closed at 4. And when we started, everyone sang lead. And everyone could sing and dance and do all this stuff. But for weeks, I never got a chance to sing lead. And I just did not understand why. My other 7 brothers and sisters did. My mom did. I was always relegated to the back doing background. And then one day I asked her, how come I don't get a chance to sing lead? How come I can't sing a song? And she would always say, well, baby, it's just not time yet. You're just not ready yet. And they're like, okay, well, how is it everyone else was born ready and I'm not ready? We're all starting to sing at the same time. What is it about me? So weeks went on. And then one day we were in a small car stacked double deep all the way around, going home with all kinds of equipment hanging out the back of the trunk. And I'm crying. And I'm saying, how come I don't get a chance to sing? Yeah. And she said, we're just not ready. My sister, Cosette, and my sister Tracy said, no, he should get a chance to sing. How come he doesn't get a chance to sing? What I come to find out, and what you also know, when people are singing as they stutter, it doesn't happen.
It does not
Yeah.
happen.
We do not stutter when we're singing.
That is true.
Yeah.
I found that later on in the years myself.
Yeah.
I guess people think that we do stutter, so probably they relegate us to the back
Yeah.
and all that.
Well, my mom, of course, at that time, in the early 70s, she didn't know. She thought she was protecting me. But then she finally relented and said, okay, and bam. it was just like I never stuttered in my life. And so that was a lesson for all of us. Speaking of lessons, as we get ready to go to break here, I want to start to move into this gentleman who you and your wife took in, Sherman Bollinger. Yeah, is it pronounced Ballinger?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this freelance artist who you connected with in 1990, and how all of this came about, that you were able to come into ownership through partnership with him, you and your wife, of this brilliant, beautiful artwork that could very easily enhance any direct selling company's offering. So when we come back.
When my mother used to sell Princess House.
Joined them way that night.
Norma siempre vendía cosas de Avon.
Oh, it must have been around 1935.
But those knives were amazing.
The one lady's name was Mary Kay, and I said, oh, cosmetics will never sell on Party Plan.
Was a single mom and created these hair care products for black women and became the first self-made millionaire in the United States. I just think that's extraordinary.
The Cash Flow Show, Direct Sales Radio. Host Deb Bixler brings you sales tips, lead generation systems, and best business practices that guarantee direct sales success. Whether you're looking for a little extra cash or a career change, the Cash Flow Show, Direct Sales Radio will give you proven systems that will work in your home business. The Cash Flow Show, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on World Talk Radio Variety.
Welcome back to On Air with our special guest, Mr. William Sullivan. He and I have so much in common in terms of speech and speech patterns. I don't like to use the word afflicted, and I doubt that he does either. We both have some of the same speaking enhancements. Let's just put it that way. I've never heard it pronounced that way or either described that way, but it's an enhancement as far as me and Mr. William Sullivan go. There's nothing, it's just who we are, and if you don't have the enhancement, shame on you. But the enhancement that we have that a lot of you probably don't is the ability to stutter. Sometimes on cue, sometimes not. It's a superpower. But he's 83-year-old great-grandfather. Let me tell you, he had mentioned early in February he saw Direct Selling Live's very first Black History Month celebration for direct selling. We had Ebony Williams, Rhonda Johnson, the great Rhonda Johnson, Nadine Thompson, the CEO of Soul Purpose, and the great Shakira Ali, who is an activist, just an absolutely wonderful woman. And he saw the Nadine Thompson interview and Ebony Williams interview, and he reached out to me when he heard me, probably during the Nadine Thompson interview, when we talked about ownership. There are very few owners of direct selling companies that are black. To my knowledge, there are three. There's Soul Purpose, run by Nadine Thompson. There's Tracy Lynn Jewelry, run by Dr. Tracy Lynn. And there's the Dudley Q, which was originally Dudley Products, which is Dudley Corp, run by the Dudleys, starting with Eunice and, oh my gosh, his name escapes me. I'm incredibly so sorry. But this is it. And I had a conversation, Mr. Sullivan, with a friend of mine, and it's probably got me to thinking about all of this. I asked a friend of mine who's a radio talk show host, who's also in direct selling, whether he thought blacks should own direct selling companies. And he said, no, I think blacks should just focus on distributorship. Well, if there's no ownership in direct selling, the business never goes full circle. And the ability to attract more blacks for the rest of direct selling becomes quite a challenge, because I know that it's important to have people in leadership positions, not just as a distributor, but as an owner. And so, in speaking to Nadine Thompson, who's a very dear friend of mine, she is of the same opinion, because there are certain challenges that go with being black in direct selling in terms of finding funding. As a great-grandfather at 83 years old, you are a wife, you have 8 children, and as you put in your letter, a host of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Why at 83 would you want to do something like this?
Well, first of all, I would like to say I would like to leave them a little something in terms of financial, a base where they can all profit from that, if that were possible. And because I failed as a father coming up, because I did not take care of my children, I was out in the streets, and I feel that the Lord is giving me a second chance at fatherhood. And so, if that be the case, I think that all of the funds that I wasted and throwed away out there in the world, if I had all of that, I would be, they would have something coming, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, since I did not do that, I feel that this is an opportunity, perhaps, that I can have something to leave to my kinfolk, etc. Now, that's only one reason. Another reason is that the Lord gave me the 2 men concept. I don't know how thoroughly that you have read that. It looks like it was given by divine inspiration, because it talks about some similarities between Jesus Christ and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And those similarities are based on the scriptures and historical facts. Well, that has to be important, or I wouldn't have got the inspiration. And I feel that someone who can take this direct selling company to the next level and make it a profitability and get out these products that could be made from this, as well as the artwork, I feel that would be something that would be beneficial to the black culture, as well as honoring those who some of these paintings represent.
Yeah.
And so there's a big picture here, but I don't want to take all your time of talking about that, but I'm just saying, like in short, I would like to see someone who appreciates what could be done. Now, there's a lot of things that could be done in terms of making T-shirts and clothing and book bags and tote bags and this sort of thing, cards and calendars, etc. But I'm on the way out. I mean, I'm 83, and I know my days are numbered, etc. So I would like to pass the baton to someone else. I have ran this race a long time, and it's time to pass the baton now. And so to someone who could probably take it to the next level and finish the race.
Yeah.
I started it, but I don't think I'll be able to finish.
Well, you will be here as long as you're going to be here. I happen to think that for someone 83 years old to take this on, and this speaks directly to the heart of people in direct selling, and also for those people who think at age 50, 60, and 70, you've run out of time. Here we have an absolutely passionate man who wants to not only leave something to his children in terms of legacy and possibly even some financial reward, which is not the overriding thing, of course, as important as it is. But he's 83 years old, and he's saying, I have a dream, which is Dr. Martin Luther King. I have a dream that I can create some value that can serve the world. And he just happens to be someone who's obviously a very religious man. He believes in his heart that there is value here. But the key is he's 83 years old. Mr. Sullivan, you're 83 years old, and you are ready to start brand new and create something. Most people give up somewhere in their 40s, and you are doubling that age and saying, I have something that can serve the world. You are a retired construction worker. You left the construction business, and you created your own business called Loomis Inc. And during that time, you were developing and marketing plaques in various ways to inspire others in the content, but because of the lack of funding and marketing, it never got off the ground. And then in 1990, a freelance artist with the name of Sherman Ballinger was living in a homeless shelter. What can you tell us about Sherman?
Sherman Ballinger was a homeless man who lived in a shelter about 3 or 4 miles from where I lived. And one day, while my wife was on vacation, he knocked on my door about 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe 7:30. He had been put out of the shelter to find some work at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's how they do it. And so he knocked on the door, and I, saw him, and he looked like a pleasant man. He wasn't, bad at looking or anything. And he spoke to me, and I said, "What's up?" And so he told me that he had just left the shelter, and would I mind letting him stay there for a couple of days? Well, my wife, she wasn't home, and she was on vacation, so I really didn't have to check with her.
So you just opened your home up to someone, a complete stranger who you never even knew?
Well, I've learned that do not be mindful to entertain strangers. Some have entertained angels unawares. I got that from the Bible. And I've always been conscious of how you treat strangers. And this is one time I felt that I should let the man stay there. So I did allow him to stay. And it was the very night previously that Buster Douglas of Columbus, Ohio, where I live, he had knocked out Mike Tyson for the championship. And this young man sat down on my table and drew a picture of the knockout with a pencil. And I said, wow, this young man got talent. So I brought in some paint and all this artist stuff. And man, he began to paint. And I tell you, what you have there is the artwork that he created and made under my roof.
Yeah, people can see the artwork now because it's on screen. We're going to talk more about the artwork in this next segment. But as we close this, I would like for you to explain something to me.
Okay.
And it's based on what you wrote. And this is what you wrote. When my wife returned home, we decided to let this man stay in our home for several months. When she came through the door, how did you convince her to let this guy stay in the house who was not around when she was on vacation? How did this happen? Because if you can sell her on that, you should be able to sell anything.
I tell you what, she was so impressed herself with the paintings that she started to giving them ideas of what to paint. The picture of Jesse Jackson, Martin Luther King, and Mandela, that was her idea that she gave to him of what to paint.
That's the Men of Hope painting.
Yes, exactly. And she was excited as I was. She said, man, this young man has talent. And she just bought into it with no problem.
Really? It is absolutely amazing because I can't see very many people doing that today. Even though your reason for doing it was the absolutely right reason for doing it. And it would be the right reason for someone to do it today. You know, you just, you know, you need some help. Yes, I have a roof. I have some food that I'm willing to share with you. You know, this is old, very old way of treating each other. Not very many people do that today. With the artist Sherman Ballinger, he has since passed away. But when we come back, we're really going to start to talk about the artwork, because I want you to talk about it. I want you to talk about the poem, and I want to have you talk about your vision for what a direct selling company could be if you were to partner with them or someone were to assist you in creating your own company. So when we come back.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back to On Air with Mr. William Sullivan, who is just an amazing man. I don't know how else to put it. An 83-year-old great-grandfather who has a dream to start his own business in partnership with a direct selling company or create his own direct selling company. As I said, he's 83 years old. Mr. Sullivan, how do you do it? Let me ask you something. 83 years old. You have your own kids. You are a grandfather and a great-grandfather. Now, I know, and a great-great-grandfather. I'm sorry I left the great out of there. Whoa, boy. You know, we got to give credit where credit is due. And a great-great-grandfather. What do your family, your children, your grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, what do they think of you wanting to do this? And even more importantly, what do they think of you coming on this show knowing that the enhancements that you and I have?
I think that they are shocked because they know how long, I mean, some of them know how long that I've been trying to jumpstart this company, you know, down through the years, and they've seen nothing but failure. And I think that the fact that you reached out like the Good Samaritan and picked up the person who was on the side of the road and tried to help them.
Well, I appreciate you saying that I reached out, but in fact, in fact, it was you who reached out to me, and you know, that's what I'm. And so, from a teachable moment for your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and your great-great-grandchildren, I always think every moment is a teachable moment. Someone is always watching, even if it's you watching yourself go through the motions. Your lesson that you are teaching your children, there is no such thing as failure. There are setbacks, there are pauses, but you keep on going. If you've got a dream, if you, I think you like the phrase, like Dr. Martin Luther King or Jesse Jackson, Dr. Jesse Jackson, you keep hope alive. And you are doing this in a way that's improbable, you know. So what do you think, if I could ask you, what do you think is running through their mind? Because there's no failure here. You are continuing to go forward.
Well, I have one son out of the 6, you know, out of the 7 children that I have. 7 girls, but one son. My son has, he let me use his house to borrow some money on. This hasn't been easy. I've been, I've been down to where I had to borrow money on our home, and then I had to borrow on his home. I borrowed on my insurance just to stay afloat because I retired from the construction business at 59, and I could not draw a pension because I was too early. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
And so just to stay alive, just to stay afloat and try to keep things going, I had to do all this borrowing, etc. And my son was always there, willing to, Dad, do you need this? Do you need that? And I wanted to show him that you can trust me. If I borrow on this, and I'm going to make the payments and everything. And so based on his faith in me and my children, they believed in me too. Then my wife did too. I just wanted to keep going. And that has kind of sparked me and made me want to be a success. And when you made that statement in February about being an owner of your own direct selling, that just made a connection that here, this is what all this is for. You have got all these copyrights, all this intellectual property that's yours. You've got this artwork that has been given to you by transfer from him, from the artist and all that. It's yours, and you can do with it what you will. And so I saw that. I said, this is a possibility. And so it could be very lucrative, I felt. And so I said, well, hey, this might be what I have been working for all these years.
Yeah.
And this is a culmination of that.
I know it is your dream to provide something, to leave something behind. But if I could just say this, and it just hit me, I think your greatest legacy to your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren is not going to be the money.
Yes.
It is not going to be anything like that at all.
Yes.
I think your greatest legacy is what we're talking about right now. I think possibly your greatest legacy is something like this interview, because you will get a hard copy of this on DVD. But imagine, if you will, and it just hit me, Mr. Sullivan, it just hit me, when you have moved on, and they're talking about the life of their great-grandfather, their great-great-grandfather, and they could pull out this DVD of this interview and say, this is who our great-grandfather, father, all of this is who he is.
Wow.
So-and-so, and I'm just going to throw a name out here, so-and-so, the great-grandson, Mark, how can you dare stop? You are born into greatness. You are born into a family. You are born with the legacy of Mr. William Sullivan, your great-grandfather. He did not stop. Don't even tell me you have given up. You don't give up until you at least reach 84. And to me, it just hit me. I wish more people would do what you are doing, because that's the real legacy. That's the real teachable moment. It's not what's in the bank that's going to matter. It is Men of Hope, Mandela, Dr. King, Jesse Jackson, and now for your family, they get to add you to that trio, so it's now 4. Men of Hope, a Man of Hope. This is the legacy. You have cemented your legacy with your family. Believe me, and if I have anything to do with it, you will have cemented your legacy with a number of other people.
Wow.
you know,
maybe be a part of those three.
well, yeah, you are a part of those three. And if your family doesn't recognize, they didn't recognize it before, they will recognize it now. That's just a fact. Hopefully, and I know you were talking about your limited time, but by February of next year, you will be on our Black History Month celebration for direct selling, whether you're in direct selling or not. I'm going to want to have you on that month-long celebration. Speaking of celebrations, let's go ahead and take a break here, because I want to come back and finish up with the artwork and talk about how you can partner. So when we come back.
When my mother used to sell Princess House.
Joined them way that night.
Norma siempre vendía cosas de Avon.
Oh, it must have been around 1935.
But those knives were amazing.
The one lady's name was Mary Kay, and I said, oh, cosmetics will never sell on party plan.
Was a single mom and created these hair care products for black women and became the first self-made millionaire in the United States. I just think that's extraordinary.
The Cash Flow Show, Direct Sales Radio. Host Deb Bixler brings you sales tips, lead generation systems, and best business practices that guarantee direct sales success. Whether you're looking for a little extra cash or a career change, the Cash Flow Show, Direct Sales Radio will give you proven systems that will work in your home business. The Cash Flow Show, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on World Talk Radio Variety.
Welcome back to On Air. That last half of the last segment was extremely powerful as a bolt of lightning hit me about Mr. William Sullivan. Here is a man who probably in some ways is trying to make up for some of the things that he did in his younger years. There's just some things that we go through. And in looking back in hindsight, yeah, we will all question why we did what we did. But as I told him off air here just a second ago, we're where we're at the time, and we're making those decisions. You know, my mom had to make some very serious decisions, and that's where she was at the time. It didn't serve the needs of all of her kids to the best, but I understand what that's like. So Mr. Sullivan wants to leave a legacy, but the greatest legacy that he is leaving is in two places, as far as I'm concerned, that I can think of. The showing that there is no such thing as failure to his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, his great-great-grandchildren. There is no such thing as failure because he's still going on, like Abe Lincoln, you know, and he rose to be possibly our greatest president ever, certainly in the eyes of many he is. But it's this type of life that we are looking at right now. And of course, the other great legacy for him is the teachable moment for his I'm getting in, I don't know how many, his 20 great levels of grandchildren, that if their great-great-grandfather can keep going on and not quit, how dare I even consider the prospect, because they are following in the shadows of greatness. And I don't know a whole lot about his life, but I can tell you, anyone who continues to do what you're doing, Mr. Sullivan, is absolutely amazing. The artwork that you have from Mr. Ballinger, let's talk about it. You've got the one called Good Friends, The Great Entertainer, Desire, In the Spotlight, It's Your Move, and Ben of Hope. If we could just talk about each one really, really quickly. The first one, Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra, Good Friends.
They were good friends, and the name was given Good Friends because they were really good friends, and they sang together often, and they were really good friends. So that's why that was named Good Friends. Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr.
The great entertainer.
That was Sammy Davis all by himself.
Right.
Sammy Davis Jr. Was one of the most talented artists that there was.
Yeah.
And so that would fit him, the great entertainer, because whether he was in some movie or singing or dancing, whatever it was, he could entertain you.
Yeah. I think there are very few great entertainers today. There are good singers. There aren't very many great singers. There are good actors. There aren't very many great actors. But in terms of entertainers, where you don't need to be the best singer, you don't need to be the best actor, as an entertainer, there are very few. And I think the only person that I can think of that even comes close to him might be a Mickey Rooney type. These were just magnificent entertainers. And Mickey Rooney, for those of you who don't know, a little younger, was just a great childhood actor, but could do it all. He was great. And Sammy Davis Jr. was the same way. I had the opportunity to meet Sammy Davis Jr. in the 70s. We were doing a show at Harrah's in Las Vegas, and he happened to be there, and he wanted to meet us after our show. The third one, Desire. Now, this one, so people can see it now. What's the real message behind this? And it could very well just be at the base level, that it's just desire.
Yes, they are desiring one another, apparently, and that's why that name was given them, because they are in close contact. And that's why it's called desire.
I think it's funny. It's desire because they're desiring each other. Apparently. Yeah, apparently they are. This is a moving piece. It kind of reminds me, she's got the bald head, as people can see now, the big earrings. It kind of reminds me of something from the cover of an Ohio Players album cover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which was, you had this long, sexy black woman who sometimes was bald head, had the honey dripping off of her. In fact, it was the Honey album. This is a great, great piece. It's really, really, really nice. In the Spotlight, the fourth one.
In the Spotlight is two dancers surrounded by other people sitting and they are in the spotlight because the light is shining on them and they're dancing. So that's why it's called In the Spotlight, because they are being featured as dancing, right there.
This is great. This is something that also reminded me of the Marvin Gaye cover. I don't remember the name of the album, but it had this type of artwork, which was magnificent. This is a great, great piece. Because it appears as though they're in a nightclub. You've got the guy playing the saxophone in the back, and people are just admiring these guys who are somewhat intertwined. They're in love with each other. It's just a great, great, sexy piece.
May I say this to you? There are 12 pictures to this collection, and that way, in direct selling, a person could buy one every month, and they could acquire the whole collection over time.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't thought of that, because I'm looking at the initial 6, but you've also got Cry for Freedom with Nelson Mandela. You've got the historical events, number 9, The Journey. The 10th one, The Early Learner, which is so cute, the kid who's sitting on the toilet, sitting on the potty, and he's got a book in his hands. He's learning. He is learning. That's great. The First Graduation, you've got the mother with the little boy who's got the graduation cap, he's got the white cap and gown. It's just magnificent, but there's a dual meaning here, because it seems to me it's a graduation with the understanding of your religion. At the same time, it's a graduation in cap and gown of school. And so there's a great dual meaning. Of course, the Men of Vision, a separate, a different picture of the Men of Hope, but it's Dr. Mandela, Dr. King, and Dr. Jackson. Yeah, and if I were your kids, I'd add that fourth person to the men of vision as well. This is magnificent. From a direct selling standpoint, from a business standpoint, what is it that you're looking for?
I would like, okay, my company has 750 shares. That's what we were given when I, that got this incorporated. And I would really like for someone to come in and partner with me or buy into the company for 400 shares and then run the company. And just do for it what I cannot do. I am not a business person like is needed to run a company like that it has to be run. And so I am willing to bring to the table this artwork, this two men artwork and the poems, and these copyrights that have 70 years or more duration to it.
Yeah.
So this is what I can offer. If someone else has some money, they can put up and do that part of it. Well, then I have all this other stuff. It is valuable, but I don't know how much it's worth.
Well, I think something that you mentioned in the very first segment about the possibilities of going just beyond the painting, that type of artwork, it's being able to transfer the artwork to a different canvas, if you will, which could be tote bags. Yeah, it could be tote bags. It could be blankets. It could be pillows. It could be some
hoodies, always hoodies.
Yeah.
That could be made from that. And it would be unique in the marketplace in that's the only one like.
Yeah.
And so, and I cannot see African Americans who were approached in their homes not wanting to purchase something from this, from these pictures, etc.
Yep. Yep. I think it's beautiful.
It's a great opportunity, I believe.
I think it's absolutely beautiful. Just the whole journey that you're on here, and you've been on a journey for 83 years, soon to be 40, and for you to do this, it's great. As we get ready to wrap up, what is an absolutely special interview? It's been an absolutely special 2 months or so of me getting to know you and talk to you. I would just like to point out you have a trifold here that's called the Author's Commentary on the Gospel on a Plaque, and some of the highlights, because we're really talking about the connection between Jesus Christ and Dr. Martin Luther King. As you said, there's so many similarities between the two. And so some of the highlights, the national holiday was created in their honor December 25th and January 15th. They both taught love and nonviolence. You have here multitudes of people followed them, which is absolutely true. There's the Jesus shed blood for people. Both were killed at a young age. God's words was read in church. Jesus is the Prince of Peace, the brotherhood of all races of people in the new earth. It's just, and even you follow up with the resurrection. But in looking at both men, even if you were to take the religion aspect out of it, how they lived their lives and what they stood for is exactly the same thing. So these artworks, granted, are not about religion per se, but it seems to me that the spirit of Jesus Christ is in the artwork, and I think that's important for you. If someone wanted to reach you, how would they go about it?
They can email me at sullyinc@huawei.com.
Okay, it's up right now so they can see it.
Or they can call 614-294-4592. Or they can write a letter if they want to, or just a note at 1094 East 26th Avenue, Columbus, Ohio, 43211. And my full name is William L. Sullivan, Sr. And I appreciate you asking that so I can get that out there.
Absolutely, and we will definitely be sure to have it in multiple places during this interview once we do the editing of it. Is there anything you would like to finish with? Because I want you to have the last word. Usually it's me finishing up the show, but not this time. No. I need to take a step back and defer to you on this one. So if there's anything you'd like to say.
I would like to joint venture with any company who is in direct selling, or I would like to have some investors who believes in what I'm trying to do and would try to invest in that and buy shares in this. Or I'm just making a proposal to any company who would like to joint venture or partnership with me and use the copyright and the artwork and the two men poem and the commentary that I have. If you would like to, if these are products that you would like to use and be a part of, you are welcome to do so. And we could partner in it, and we could share in the profits from it. So, yeah.
There you have it. The great Mr. William L. Sullivan, Sr. Here on air. I know I would say would give you the last word, but I just have to say something here about as we close the show. For anyone watching this, keep in mind that we are talking about a 83-year-old great-great-grandfather who has not lost hope, who has not lost his dream, has come to realize that he still has much, much, much more to offer the world. He is already of the understanding that this is something that goes well beyond his physical life here. He's looking to provide some comfort and benefit to the multitudes through the work of Sherman Ballinger, his business partner. He's just an absolute magnificent man. The leadership qualities that he is displaying, the humbleness in which he is delivering this and offering this cannot be understated. But the great teachable moment for his children, and I'm sure you all are watching this, for children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren, you all need to pay homage to him. You all need to bow to him. You need to tell him thank you. Because even if the monetary doesn't deliver, you know that you are of the heritage of a man whose legacy is you never stop, you never quit, and just keeps on going. Mr. Sullivan, thank you so much for what is easily the greatest interview I have ever had.
Oh, Keeper, thank you so much. You're so kind. May God bless you.
You take care.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye.